Well, I am shocked, but I am not surprised that this isn't all over ESPN, Yahoo Sports, CBS, NBC Sports, anything like that. Now, it's on NBC's local news to their credit, but it hasn't made national headlines, at least as of the moment of this broadcast. And that is the Cleveland Browns have found a very slick way to allocate $600 million to help get a new stadium built. How are they doing it? They're using your money, not your typical taxpayer money. No. Every state has funds that have not been yet received for whatever reason. So like, let's say you dropped a check somewhere and it's got your name on it. Somebody picks it up and they find it. Boom, you can go pick up your check. Let's say there's a bank account that's gone dormant. You haven't had access to it for whatever reason, or you tried to gain access to it and haven't been able to do so. Whatever the case may be, those funds are just sitting there. Well, the Ohio governor at the 11th hour decided to go ahead and place it so that way of the $4.8 billion that's laying around in undiscovered funds, they're going to use $600 million of that to go ahead and build the new Cleveland Browns football stadium. And before somebody goes, well, come on, man, if they wanted it, they would have it. Imagine this. You've had a long day at work. You're getting on the bus to go home. You fall asleep on the bus. You walk in the door. You're dragging from the day. You go to check your pockets to make sure that you got everything. You're looking for your keys. You open up the door. You get inside and you kind of realize you're missing something. What are you missing? Your paycheck from work. You have no idea where it is. You have no idea where you lost it. You're so out of it. You have no clue what happened to it. Somebody out there found it, picked it up, took it to the appropriate place, and then they put it on this website. That's where you can go and find it. You've been looking for it. You don't know to look there. Then all of a sudden, money like that disappears and you can't get to it. Do you know why you can't get to it? Because the Cleveland Browns got it, so that way they can help build their new stadium, and they're going to reward you with a fist bump. Good looking out, Brody. Appreciate you, fam. That's how they're doing that. So the $4.8 billion, $600 million is literally 12.5% of all that money is going towards the Cleveland Browns. Which, by the way, the new stadium around $1.1 billion. So basically 50% of that stadium is getting paid for by those funds. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to put the article that I found it on in the description. Within that article, if you live in the state of Ohio, there's a little link there. They give you the step-by-step of how to go and try and recover some funds that you might be missing for whatever reason. Because remember, undiscovered doesn't mean forgotten about or I don't care. It means undiscovered. That's what that means. It could have been. Money could have been left behind by a family member who passed away, sadly, and you didn't know that maybe they left you some money, a chunk of land, whatever the case may be, it could be on there. And the point is that's their money. I'm just saying. So Mike Brown is the new head coach of the New York Knicks. And look, before anybody goes, well, how come they didn't go get Mike Malone? That's because Mike Malone is owed $25 million, and he was the highest paid coach in the NBA, and nobody is going to take on that contract. Mike Malone is going to be sitting at home until somebody gets desperate enough or has the money laying around. I mean, they did just increase the salary cap, so you never know, but reality is probably not. So in the meantime, Mike Malone, he's available, but he's not available. So there's that. Mike Brown, look, I don't have a problem with it, but I don't. Here's the thing. If you're Mike Brown, you know right away that you're not the top choice. You know you're not the top choice because it was heavily reported on multiple teams in the NBA going, no, you New York, you cannot talk to our head coach. You're not going to take our head coach and go win a championship. You're not going to use our guy to get you over the hump. So that just made them more secure in the hire that they had to begin with. Then on top of that, this is how many stops now for Mike Brown as a head coach. Now, he's got some accolades under his belt, right? Number one, he's got a 60% win percentage. Number 2, he's been coach of the year twice. Number 3, he's been to the NBA Finals, got swept by the Spurs, albeit, but still, he got there. Started off really great with the Kings, but then they had a slope. As an assistant coach, he's been a champion multiple times. But as a head coach, it's never happened. And despite his 60% win percentage, this could be a make or break for him because, or at least for a while, because the Knicks obviously just got to the Eastern Conference Finals this past season. Now, a saving grace right off top could easily be you win 60 games, you're a 1 or 2 seed, Eastern Conference Finals, you play well. Obviously, you've given yourself a little bit more time. The other thing could be Jalen Brunson, who this could be a make or break year for him. Obviously, you're not going to get Julius Randle back. He just signed a deal with the T-Wolves. That ship sailed after you traded him, really, but it is what it is. Karl Anthony Towns, who knows the future of that? The saving grace for him could be, well, we just got a new head coach. Give me another year. That might happen, but here's the thing. If you don't get to the NBA Finals this season, and especially perform well in the NBA Finals, then you're going to have to look at it and go, okay, here's the deal. We got to let somebody go. 90% of the time, that's what happens. Somebody gets the axe. Are you going to give Brunson more time? I mean, that's the thing. And then, of course, the defense. Mike Brown, known for pretty good offense. We'll see how the defense looks. Under Tibbs, New York has been one of the better teams defensively over the last couple of seasons. The other thing with Jalen Brunson is if anybody's really watched the Knicks, especially in these playoffs, man, he struggled a lot at the end of games. There were plenty of times where the Knicks would get up big without him. He would come back in. All of a sudden, he's getting into more foul trouble. He's turning the ball over. He's getting sloppy. He's getting lazy. He was more of a detriment than he was a help. I'm telling you right now, I think he gets one season to prove it. And finally, the team as we know it right now with the Knicks, I mean, that's it. For all those guys, man, that have been there for a couple of years, seeing this whole thing progress and grow, that's it. You're going to disband it. But here's the thing, though. If you've already started over with a brand new head coach, you went back to square one, okay? Once you do that and you make that choice, now with your superstar player, if it happens again, now you've really started over, and now you put Mike Brown in a precarious situation. Look, I don't know that there were a lot of coaches out there that were really chomping at the bit for that job, if I'm being honest. I don't think it was happening. I think there were just too many risk factors involved. And for Mike Brown, kudos, because he's willing to take the shot knowing that he wasn't the guy, knowing that all those things are probably all very much reality. And he still said, we can do this. We'll see how it goes, but those teams in Sacramento had gotten progressively worse from when he first showed up. Great guy who can turn you around. Now let's see if he could take a team that's already basically there and truly get him to the next step. Because let's not forget, if he wins, a lot of people aren't going to say, well, that was his team. They're going to say, man, that was Tibbs' team. Speaking of somebody else's team, Giannis. Boy. Look, the Bucks let go of Dame Lillard, and they're sitting him at home with $113 million. And I can understand where Melo was coming from, where he talks about no loyalty. I get that, and I am normally on that side. I favor the athlete so often in so many of these situations. But here's the thing for me, though. And that is, with the torn Achilles tendon, even though the surgery was deemed a success, more than likely he's going to be out for most, if not all, of this upcoming season. So one way or the other, you're going to be paying Dame $113 million. And to say, we don't want you on the team anymore, we're still willing to pay you all this money, that tells me that they didn't see anything going on with Dame Lillard after his contract was up. So they didn't think it was working out. And here's the thing, the Bucks, look, this is a prime organization or a prime example of an organization who does not know how to handle being a champion. You fired two coaches that were winning you games. One got you the title. The other one had you at 35-13. All the rumor and hearsay has pointed to Giannis. And now you have to wonder if Giannis is the one saying, I really don't want Dame here. I mean, all these people saying that Giannis is going to roll out, we don't know that for sure. It's a pretty good presumption, but let's be honest. If Giannis is the defining factor in, I don't want Dame here, and they're just being too appreciative of Giannis for that championship, then what? It's a sticky situation in Milwaukee right now. As of the moment, what was it? You paid two head coaches to not even be coaching. Now you are paying a player to not be on your team. And look, do not get me wrong. The right thing to do to me would have been, man, we really appreciate everything that you did. Good looking out, Dame. You're probably not going to play this season, but we still want you to be here. You're a Milwaukee Buck. Simultaneously, it opens up a roster spot, and it keeps free agency in a pretty good place for you. And if you can wheel and deal something spectacular that you know will help work for you, you got to have the spot open. It's just the nature of the beast. It's an ugly side of the game of basketball, but it is there and it does linger. And that's all there is to it. All right, real quick here, EA Sports, they are bringing back their basketball game, NCAA basketball for 2028? I think the initial projection was 2026, but it looks like it may have been pushed back to 2028. Regardless, it doesn't matter because I wouldn't play that game. Does anybody remember when, at least, let me reword this. I'm old enough to remember when there were a lot of different video games for sports that you had to choose from. You had Joe Montana football. You had John Elway football. You had Jim McMahon football. You had Tecmo Super Bowl for football. You had Tecmo Bowl for football. You had Mutant League football. Does anybody remember that game? Man, that was a lot of fun. And then, of course, into the PlayStation era, you had NFL Blitz. Then for basketball, obviously, you had NBA Live. You had NBA 2K. You had NHL Live. You had Mutant League, Hockey League for that one. They created that game. You had a series of basketball games, man. You had Bird versus Jordan in the NBA playoffs. You had the Olympics version of the basketball game that we had. Remember the little track and field game where you could run on the? It was like a pad, right? Remember? And you would race the tortoise and then something else, and eventually you got to the rabbit. It was really fast, and you could do the hurdles. You could do the straight thing, and the 100-yard dash, the 400-yard. Man, that was a lot of fun playing that game. What else did you have for sports games? Technically, you had Duck Hunt as a sports game, but I'm just saying you had variety out there, man. You had Tecmo had made a basketball game. So you had that out there. Then, of course, into the PlayStation era, everything got so sophisticated. ESPN, remember, they had their version of a football game. Of course, you had Madden. I'm just saying you had a lot out there. You had a lot to choose from. And the competition made sure that the video games were all great. They were all pretty much fun, one way or the other. But, man, the buyout happened. And a lot of those organizations like Tecmo, they got away from sports. They would get tired of making the games, all the back end stuff that you have to deal with, whether it's the NFLPA, the NBAA, all that stuff, man. You just, all the money that goes into it, the time, the effort, have you ever seen the story about how they first made Madden? John Madden was mad. He's like, that's not a football play. Slammed his hand down. It's not realistic. That's not authentic. That's not football. I'm not putting my name on that. He didn't want something goofy or cartoonish. He wanted something that felt authentic, you know? And I think there's nothing wrong with that. But again, you had the variety aspect, you know, where NBA Jam, it was more fantasy, right? Imagine if Dominique Wilkins could jump, 100 feet in the air. That'd be wild, bro. That's what NBA Jam was. And it was a lot of fun, and it was inspired by arcade. And you had that variety. You had so many different experiences because you could have the arcade, you could have Sega, you could have Nintendo. You could have any experience that you wanted. Now you are limited to choice and experience. And I just think that it's monotonous. And I think it would be better for me personally if they said, look, we're not going to come out with a new game every year now. We're going to come out with a new version every 2 or 3 years. We're going to take time. We're going to work on certain things. And we're just going to automatically do roster updates. I mean, it's 2025. They could easily do roster updates and just share that with everybody, not charge you. And boom, there you go. There's your game. But now, they do all this stuff, with the Madden cards and all this stuff that you got to buy and all that. It used to be to have all those players, you could either A, create them, or B, they were already in the video game. And then later on, you could earn them, But now you got to pay for everything. And it's just nuts. It's crazy to me to have to pay for every little aspect of a video game. Anytime you want to advance, you got to spend a nickel. It just blows my mind. It's gotten beyond greed. And I think that if they really listened to the fans and said, this is what we want, then they would do something like that. Look, we're not going to come out with another version this year. We're just going to give you the roster update. We're working on doing some things that are going to truly make the game better. Here in a couple of years, we'll re-release a full version. Yes, you'll get charged at that point. And if they're going to do a full-on roster update, just charge like $10 for it. I mean, if you really want to make some money, everybody will pay you $10 for a roster update for the next team or for the next season, whatever. I think that would be a very logical and simple solution. If you're going to own everything, then at least be delicate and take care of it instead of insulting our intelligence and just using everything as a money grab. And we need to stop giving in, I'm just saying. All right, everybody, I am Drew Duncan. Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram is all at Drew Duncan Radio. I am wherever you are listening to podcasts. Simply tell your device to play the Drew Duncan Sports Show. Everybody stay safe, take care of yourselves, and have a wonderful rest of your night and or day.